Good afternoon. Welcome to Midweek Musings here at Trinity Heights United Methodist Church. I'm Kent Little, lead clergy here at the church. It's good to have you. So I decided, since it wasn't too awfully hot yet today, that I would do our midweek musing outside. It's actually pretty nice out here if you're in the shade, although I think the temperature said it was somewhere around 92 or 93. I stepped out of the house this morning, and I don't remember what time it was, 7:30-ish, and it was actually kind of cool. It was great. Though, as you know, we're not done with the hot weather yet. I think it's supposed to be in the hundreds again this weekend. So anyway, we live in Kansas, so who knows what the weather's going to do, right? So anyway, here at the church, we're still gearing up for the fall activities that'll begin later this in September with our welcome on Wednesdays, our WOW meal and children's program, and I think I mentioned a week or two ago that I'm going to start a discussion class. Discussion group. I don't know. I hesitate to call it a class because or at least I don't plan on using any kind of curriculum. It's hopefully be kind of group led, talking about matters of theology and how theology matters as we practice our faith. It matters how we understand God, how we think about God, and in the big picture, how we understand and think about one another in the world. So I hope it'll be a good gathering, a good discussion. Of course, I'll bring some suggested topics if nobody else does. But most importantly, I hope those who come will bring their own questions, questions of faith. If you've been around here at Trinity Heights for the last month and a half now, you know I always have questions. Questions of the faith, questions of myself, questions of our text, our sacred scripture. So anyway, looking forward to that. Other things going on. Our remodeling of our bathrooms, it continues to progress. Hopefully, they feel like they can be done with that early September. So that's just a couple days away. So anyway, hope you're aware of all that. Hope you join us in our gatherings, whether it's on Sunday morning or other times. So this week I thought maybe I would just touch a little bit, as I have been doing, a little bit on what we might be talking about on Sunday morning. So this week one of the lectionary passages is from Romans. Paul's letter to the Romans, and that's what we dealt with this last Sunday. And this time there's a little different focus from last week. He talks about how we live together as a community of faith, and I think that can be broadened to how we live together as a community, say of Newton, or whatever community you live in, and then broader still, our state, our nation, our world, how we exist in relationship with one another, in relationship with creation, in relationship with God. And so kind of the focus, though, of my thoughts for this Sunday is around how we understand peace. We know in our story, in our scripture tradition, it refers to Jesus as the Prince of Peace, and yet he died at the hands of a violent empire, and died a very violent death. And so I think it's important how we talk about peace, and how we long for peace, and how we hope for peace and pray for peace. So anyway, so that's kind of where I think I'm going Sunday morning, is how we go about that. I can't remember, I should have looked it up before I started this morning. There's I don't remember who the author was, but a quote that I carry around with me something to the effect of everybody wants to change the world, but nobody thinks to change themselves. And peace can be that way as well. I think. We all want peace in the world, and we all want to do things that promote peace. And I think in our scripture tradition we hear and see exampled in some of the stories that if we want peace, we have to begin with ourselves. If we're not at peace, then how can we promote it, and how can we example it for the world around us? So I think that's an important concept to think about. One of my favorite authors, I brought my book with me. One of my favorite authors is Thich Nhat Hanh. He's Vietnamese. He's a Buddhist priest. He's gone now. He died just I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. In the last 2-3 years. But anyway, he wrote a book. This book is called Being Peace. And he kind of exemplifies that in terms of we start with ourselves. That if we're not at peace, then others can't be either. And he just shares just a little example. And I'm not going to read much to you, but I always hate to read to you. But I wanted to read just a paragraph or so in his book Being Peace. He writes, I like to use the example of a small boat crossing the Gulf of Siam. He was from Vietnam. In Vietnam, he says, there are many people called boat people who leave the country in small boats. Often the boats are caught in rough seas or rough seas or storms, and the people may panic, and the boats can sink. But if even one person aboard, he says, can remain calm, lucid, knowing what to do and what not to do, he or she can help the boat survive. His or her expression, face, voice communicates clarity and calmness, and people have trust in that person. They will listen to what he or she says. Such a person, one such a person, can save the lives of many. And he goes on to write about how the world is like that as well. The world can seem like a world that is surrounded by chaos, etc. And we are encouraged to be at peace in ourselves so that we can promote that peace. And I see that a lot in our scripture tradition, in the stories of Jesus and others. In a continuing education program I'm in right now, we talk about that as being the non-anxious presence, especially in a conflicted situation. Remaining connected to those in our midst, connected to those in the midst of conflict, but being a non-anxious presence in the midst of that, helping people navigate that conflict, and doing it well and in a healthy way. And sometimes I make great strides toward being that non-anxious presence, and sometimes I am the king of anxiety. and I think that's true for a lot of us. But it's important to remain calm, yet connected, not distant, not disconnected in terms of, not in a maybe a passive aggressive sort of way, but to remain engaged with the conversation, the process, the conflict, the people in the midst of that, and offering ways that we can navigate through that in a healthy way. I think about that in this setting out here outside. To be at peace in the midst of a world that is constantly moving, a world that's constantly expressing itself, that is constantly filled with noises and distractions. As I sit here right now, and maybe you can hear that as well. Cars going by, the ones that go right by me on the street here get a little too loud, and maybe I could get frustrated about, well, I hope the people can hear me on my video with these cars going by. How come that's go by right now? Or listening for the drone of the cicadas and their calling and response. The noise of the wind. Here comes one of those cars right now. The noise of the breeze through the trees. When the breeze gets a little bit heavier, I noticed when I first sat down here, there's a house behind me, I think across the street, that has wind chimes, and I can hear those wind chimes blowing in the breeze. I have a crow cawing nearby. So there's always something happening around us, and we can, or I should use I language, I can get frustrated with that if I come out here to pray or to meditate or to just be in nature. It's like, all of this noise, and I can get so distracted. Maybe I get frustrated. Well, I need to find a place quieter, or I can use that noise, if you will, and not think of it as noise. But there was a movie sometime back about a young prodigy, a musical prodigy, a young boy. I think the name of the movie was August Rush. And one of the things he says is that music is all around us. All we have to do is listen. And there was a peacefulness to his ability to gather what would be seen as chaos and distraction and noise and turn it into a musical composition. And so if I use his thought and language, there's a rhythm to how the cicadas call and respond. There's a rhythm to how the leaves sound in the breeze. There's a rhythm to the crow that keeps cawing off in the distance. There can be a rhythm to how the cars appear and the road noise appears and then fades away. And then it doesn't become a distraction. And then it doesn't become the chaos of the world around me. Rather, it feeds a sense of peacefulness within, where I can remain calm and connected to those sounds, and yet be at peace in the world around me, even in the chaos. And so maybe we can translate that in some way to those situations we find ourselves in that are conflicted, that can feel burdensome. How do we remain in that flow of conversation, even escalated conflict, and still remain non-anxious, engaged, listening to those around us that help us navigate through these times that can often seem so anxious and so conflicted. So anyway, that's kind of where I want to go this Sunday, is the topic. And I think that's in some respect part of what Paul says in his letter to the Romans in the piece that we're going to share on Sunday morning. So I hope you're able to join us. And I think I mentioned we're in the process. We want to get our live stream up, so if you're unable to be here in person, you might be able to join us on a Sunday morning via live stream, via your computer or your phone. We hope, I hope to have that accomplished. I'm hoping at least by the end of September, so a month. It just takes a little while to get things in place, volunteers to help run the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But I hope you can, if you're able to be here on Sunday morning, I hope you join us for that. So yeah, we'll be talking about peace, and the title of my sermon this week is "It Depends." That's all I'm going to tell you. It's just a teaser. So anyway, I hope you're able to be here. Our worship services are 10 a.m. on Sunday morning in the sanctuary, with a very traditional structure, if you will. And then at 11:15 in the fellowship hall is a little more contemporary, and particularly the music. And so hope you can be here for that. There is a Sunday school. There are classes that happen during that 11:15 time as well. If you go to the early service, if you are interested in engaging in a class setting, you can do that after first service. Most importantly, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being with me. I look forward to seeing you Sunday if possible, and if not, maybe next Wednesday at this same time. And so as I encourage us each time we gather together, and especially today, I hope you can find those moments, at least, if not more, where you're able to be at peace and be peace, and strive to be a light and to love one another, every single other, until there are no others, only one beloved community of all. May it be so. May it be so. Thank you for being here. Goodbye, and God bless.